What's up, Earthlings? Matthew East. We are off topic. We are also off site. Surprise, surprise, this is not my studio. Bah! If you're listening to audio only, you can probably tell the difference in the mic, but if you're on YouTube, you can see that I am in the dark on a walk in my neighborhood. If I were to zoom out a little bit, you'd see residential cars parked on the streets, stuff like that. Hey, there's one going by right now. That one wasn't nearly as dangerous as the one that almost hit me about 3 minutes ago, the first time I was trying to do this take out here. Walking in front of a stop sign across the street, and this car came up. And we're in 15, 20 mile per hour zones around here, and I swear to God it was doing 50. I was like, Jesus, and I had the ability to move if I would have needed to. The last second, the car starts to slow down, and did come to almost a stop at that stop sign. But that's an example, great example. I wish I had it on tape. I didn't respond very well. If I did, it would show you that there are things in life that we cannot control, right? I could get mugged out here. A whole lot less likely that would happen if I'd stayed home. Probably not going to get mugged. It's a pretty safe neighborhood, actually. It's blue collar, but it's safe. And truth is, though, is that when you move into a bigger sphere of reality, you expose yourself to more unpredictability. More things can happen that you didn't expect the further you get away from your tight little circle of safety, if you will. There's a word that I'm going to use that might sound appropriate, but that we're going to talk about in more detail. Today, people of Earth, I am going to be preaching chaos to you. Preaching chaos. Sounds like I'm leading like a young anarchist meeting or something like that. Yes, I used young intentionally. Of course, I also used, I guess, anarchists intentionally, and I'm really neither one. Although I am more of a youngster than I am an anarchist. Whatever that's worth. They'll call that an exploration complete. Chaos, though. When you hear the word chaos, what do you think? You can't really go above it, right? You're like, well, what do you think of when you think of chaos? You think of chaos. Like if there's simmering, and then there's boiling, and then there's really, really bad. Above that, that's where chaos is. Well, if it's that unnerving and it's that scary, what are we going to talk about today? Well, I'm going to give you a definition of chaos as soon as we get back to the studio. And that definition is going to be a launch pad for the rest of what we're going to talk about in this episode. And I'm going to make a proposition to you, a suggestion that is going to change the way you think about a lot of things, including your life. With that introduction, wow, we're coming up on a biker meeting or something here. Talk about some potential chaos, huh? With that introduction, I'm going to turn it over to myself in the studio in 3, 2, 1, now. Boom! And here we are. Just like we promised. It's almost as if I had some video editing software or something going on, reducing the chaos. But we're back in the studio, and with that little introduction out there in the real world, where the chaos can get deep, I'm going to back it off again and take you back to this idea that chaos is scary when we think about it. If you said, give me an example of something chaotic in nature, that would be like a thunderstorm, right? Like a perfect thunderstorm, though. Those ones in the movies where this system is moving this way and this one is moving this way, and they're coming together in a way that is going to create something phenomenal, colossal, extraordinary, devastating. By the way, movie meteorologists, that's the most inaccurate representation of a profession ever, that they could like be like, yeah, this little thing's happening over here, this is happening over here, it's going to create this, and then boom, it just happens. Meteorologists don't know shit about what's going to happen. They prove it every freaking day. I want to be a meteorologist. You can be wrong all the time, never have to apologize, and like, that's your job. There's a local news channel here in town where they say the most accurate weather forecast 10 years running. Well, yeah, but what if that's still only 30%? And the others are just at 20% or less. I think it's funny because they talk about how good they are. Meteorology is so mystical compared to normal science. I swear to God, if you fucked up your final exam being a meteorologist, the instructor would just have to say, well, it could have happened to anybody. Sorry, meteorologists. Hope I didn't offend you. Actually, I don't care. But I digress. A storm, a perfect storm, a meteorologically predictable storm comes together. Where's the lightning going to strike? How strong is the wind going to be? Is there going to be hail? How big? How fast is it moving? It's going to get worse. Is it going to go out to sea? Is it going to hit land? Chaos, right? Unknown. Mayhem. What about on the sociological side, like a riot? That's chaos. Riot in the streets. You don't know what's going to come flying through the air next. Brick, Molotov cocktail. Who knows? Panties. Maybe not in a riot. I don't know.
Sounds like a San Francisco riot. Or Austin. You East Coasters who thought I said Boston. Cool your Molotov cocktails. We're in Texas.
Depends on where you are. Where's the mob going to move? Is my storefront going to be safe? Are the cops ever going to show up? Not anymore. Too much of that shit going on. But that's a different episode. Let's take it a little closer to home. How about a 9-year-old's birthday party? Ah! Fuck the riot. Fuck the storm. That's the worst one ever, right? Too much frosting on the cake. Johnny's pulling Lucy's pigtails. Sammy's puking in the dog bowl. Dog's lapping it up. Kids screaming, running around. You try to get them sitting down for story time. Bad idea. Gets worse and worse. I did a story about a 9-year-old birthday party in the safety episode, just like 2 episodes ago or something, too. Why'd I pick 9? I don't really know. It is about the right age, though. But chaos is everywhere, and chaos is scary. That's the point, right? What is chaos really, though? I have a definition. Teased it on the walk outside, and I'm going to give it to you now. By the way, I didn't look up chaos and then create this definition. I just made this definition up. So if it happens to be like super accurate, I am just a lucky son of a bitch or brilliant. I don't know.
I'll go with lucky.
Here's my definition of chaos and see if you want to argue with me or not. I don't think you will, but if you do, or maybe you want to pat me on the back, call me up, 864-432-3379, or email me at mattheweastlaughs@gmail.com. And we will figure this out. Actually, Matthew East Laughs works. This podcast's email is eastofftopic@gmail.com. I'll get either one, though. Matthew East Laughs is for the website. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. Holy crap, that's foreshadowing. Here's my definition of chaos. Ready? An excess of variables beyond our control. Is that complicated? Does it sound as bad as everything we've talked about so far? No, because I set it up that way, because I wanted to talk about the bad shit first. But really, what is chaos but an excess of variables beyond our control? What's going to happen next? I'm going to take the definition a little further, though. Also, without any allowance, yes, I am reading it, for accurate prediction or expectation, except in the smallest and nearest of circumstances. Now, I'm going to read the whole thing again because I digressed here and there a couple times. I want you to hear the definition. It is an excess of variables beyond our control and also without any allowance for accurate prediction or expectation except in the smallest and nearest of circumstances. Now, near is both proximity and time. Right up next to you. The next moment, reach out and touch it. Those things, somewhat predictable, some expectations attached to that stuff. The further you get away, though, from the smallest and nearest, the less predictable everything becomes. And that is chaos. Now, I'm going to use a different word, and I'm going to read the exact same definition, and you tell me how it sounds, okay? The new word, taking the place of chaos, is life. Ready? Life. Here's your definition.
an excess of variables beyond your control, and also without any allowance for accurate prediction or expectation, except in the smallest and nearest of circumstances. Blew your mind, right? Hard to argue with, and I think it's crazy how close those two things are. Life, Earthlings, is chaos. Does that mean your life is horrible? Does that mean life is fucking catastrophic? No! It just means it's unpredictable. Chaos isn't bad. The excess of variables beyond our control, it isn't bad. It's how we treat it that matters. Now, I'm going to prove to you that life is chaos before we go down the how we treat it path. So here we go. How many of you are doing today exactly what you thought or what you would have thought had you taken the time that you'd be doing 5 years ago? So back in May of 2021, if you'd looked forward 5 years, do you think you would have predicted that you are where you are right now, sitting where you're sitting, doing what you're doing? I can promise you one thing, you didn't think you'd be listening to this podcast because it didn't fucking exist. There's chaos for you right there.
Holy shit, he is a young anarchist.
But other things, more important things. Fuck, nothing's more important. Less important things. Was it all planned out? Did you have a plan, and is it exactly what you thought it would be 5 years ago? What about 1 year ago? Did you live in the same house? Did you have the same number of children? Did you plan on that change? Do you got one in the oven? Sorry if you do. No, maybe you want it. Of course you want it. You probably want it.
Can we just assume they want it, please?
Goodness sakes. Who knows though, right? What was going on a year ago? What about bringing it in? What about a month ago? What about April of 2026? 1 month ago, the end of last month. Are you where you thought you'd be, or did some shit go sideways? Relationally, occupationally, masturbationally. I don't know, that's not a thing.
Well, you might not have the kid.
I was trying to come up with a third one right there. That's what popped into my head, so sue me. Month ago, though, most of us probably could have looked ahead a month and been close. Not me. Imagine that. Digression, quickly. This podcast is going to get real informative, Earthlings, in the next 6 months. I got a lot going on chaotically in my life. That excess of variables outside my sphere of control. It's going to get real interesting, and I'm going to start sharing some of it with you. And I encourage you to stay tuned because my story is, it's been a roller coaster. And sometimes you lose your stomach on a roller coaster. Other times you scream. Other times it's fun. But it sure as hell has been one. And a month ago, even a year ago for sure. Things are times they are a-changing. And it'll be exciting to share that stuff with you as we proceed forward. But maybe your life hasn't been that chaotic in the last 30 days. If it has, let's take it even further. A day ago. What about yesterday? What were you doing yesterday, 24 hours ago at this time? And did you think you would be doing what you're doing now?
Masturbationally or otherwise.
Right this moment? Or did something change?
Note the positive effects of listening to Off Topic with Matthew East. Unless, of course, you're still a masturbator.
Might not have even thought about it, but if you'd thought, that's the important part of this whole thing, is if you'd thought about it. Like if I today, right now, put myself tomorrow night, what do I think I'll be doing tomorrow night? And will that be happening tomorrow night?
Let's just leave that one alone. But not too alone.
Well, if it is, fine. If not, that's because some variables came in and did some shit that changed the outcome. There's a super definitive thing that scientists get into called chaos theory. Chaos theory, if you don't know what it is, well, you do. If I said, do you know what chaos theory is? And you said, well, no. I'm going to tell you you do, and I'm going to prove it to you right now. Have you ever heard the phrase, a butterfly flaps its wings, ... If you have, you probably have. It's out there. It's ubiquitous. Big word. But a butterfly, the whole thing is a butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil, and a thunderstorm grows in Texas, and tornadoes hit houses they wouldn't have hit. The small thing that happened way over here grows and grows and grows and has impacts you couldn't possibly imagine until something catastrophic or great, anything, something huge happens way far away that never would have happened if the tiny thing hadn't happened in the first place. That's chaos theory. But if chaos is a science, then maybe there's a science or an approach that we can have to life as well. And if we can get our heads around this idea that chaos isn't bad, it's how we treat it that matters. This painting back here is one of my favorites. And I got a way of looking at chaos. Like if you're in that ocean, there is not a lot you can do. There's not a lot you can do to control your surroundings. But right in front of you, watch out for the next wave and tread water. This is a little bit of a chaotic storm picture, but imagine yourself in the surf, like swimming in the ocean. The waves are going to do what the waves are going to do. You can't control them, right? You just need to find the ones to ride, and then you got to learn the ones to dive through. Wait a second, let me try that again. The waves are going to do what the waves are going to do. You need to find the ones to ride and learn the ones to dive through.
And now he's fucking Dr. Seuss. You're all very impressed.
I didn't really realize that rhymed until right now. A few too many syllables in the last half, but you get the idea. By the way, do you guys know how to dive through a wave? For those of you who don't know, hello, Mr. Motorcycle. For those of you who don't know, waves are created by circular motions under the water. And then when those circular rotations hit the bottom of them, hit the ground as they get closer to shore, it pushes the tops of them up above the water, and that creates the crest of a wave. And that's why you get smacked and thrown down and beaten up in the surf, is because of those circular currents that are happening totally unbeknownst to you out in the deep water. They come to shore, they create the crest, and that's what happens. Well, the top side creates the crest. The bottom side of the circle is underwater. And if a wave is coming, rather than getting shellacked by it in fear, you can dive under the wave, into the wave, and pop up nice and easy on the back side of the wave while the wave continues towards shore, and you're just right where you were before, none the worse for the wear. Some of you are like, no shit, Matt, that is the way it works. Others of you are like, holy cow, that's cool, Matthew. Matthew's a more intelligent sounding name, don't you think, than Matt? I just lost my spotlight here, my studio light. So we're going to get a new one super quick and be right back to it. And we're back. Brand new light. Everything's good to go. Talk about chaos. Didn't know that was going to happen, but it did. We dove under that wave, came up on the other side. Bad stuff's behind us. Off we go. The word chaos sounds so bad, though. What sounds good in contrast with chaos? I would submit that most of you will be thinking of the word control. And control is a feel-good kind of a word. It's something that we all want to have. Self-control, life control. We want to be under control. You don't want to over-control. That's about the only one that doesn't work. Over-control your car, get in a wreck. Over-control your child.
Or your spouse.
Same result. Don't do that. But control feels good, right? And we want to take chaos and we want to turn it into control. That's the goal inside our heads, the way we think of it when we're thinking of storms and riots and 9-year-old birthday parties.
Or wives. Just to be sure the wrong one doesn't get mad at the wrong one here.
But what if chaos just is? What if we're right that chaos is life? Life is chaos. And what if that's not a bad thing? If your life is shit and you say, oh, it's all chaotic and it feels like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the variables. I'm talking about the things that you can't predict or have expectation about. Everything except that which is right in front of you. Sometimes not even that, for that matter. But ultimately, whatever you think you control, there's so much more that you don't, right? If that's just reality, then should we even be trying to control? Is it the right approach? Well, no. It's the mistake. Control is the mistake, believe it or not, of the things that are out there. Trying to control those things, nothing but badness can happen because it's futile. Because they are by definition beyond your control. Stress, anxiety, disappointment all follow. it's the inevitable result of trying to over control. It's ironic, back to over control again being a bad thing. Those things which you cannot. If you can find a way to admit what is beyond your control, which is almost everything. I'm pointing at the storm painting behind me. Almost everything. What does that give you? Hopelessness? No. It helps you with one word: focus. Focus on those things that are in your control. Eliminate the distractions of the things that are beyond your control, and then focus for the eyes, peace for the heart. Believe it or not, you start to see more clearly. You have flexibility within your plans. I'm going to get to that right at the end of the episode. I'll talk about an old military saying. Used to use all the time. It's kind of humorous, but very, very real.
Spoiler alert, it's not Bohica. You don't know, look it up.
But that's the point. Control sounds good, but in a world of chaos, the attempts for control that we all think we should be valiantly attempting lead to nothing but disappointment, stress, and anxiety. So you got to stop that. You guys know what rage games are? I got introduced to rage games recently. There's a rage game out there called Trees Hate You. If you've heard of this, you're laughing right now. You know, gamers play the games, you watch them on YouTube. Holy shit. You're a little cartoon character walking through a cartoon woods, forest of trees. And you're just walking past a tree, and the tree that's vertical just goes whap, 90-degree angle, kills you. And you're like, what? It's a tree. So you get smarter, right? And you go back to the beginning, you go around the tree. You come to the next tree, you're going around the tree. Tree pulls out a gun and shoots you. Bam, dead. I shit you not, it gets worse and worse and worse. The different ways that you get killed by trees. And it's not fair. And there's a reason it's called a rage game. Because that's how you feel. and that's life though, isn't it? Like, literally, isn't that life? Like, life isn't fair and it pisses you off. Well, what if you could simplify? What if you could overcome that? Not be happy about the bad stuff that happens, but acknowledge that a lot of it's beyond your control. Is that easier said than done? Maybe. But I got a trick for you. We used to go on hikes. I used to lead men's hikes. And super experienced guys, super novice guys, all go on the same hike. And what you would learn is that there's a destination out there, whether it be a waterfall, a river, or an overlook, or someplace that you're hiking to set up camp and be that night. There is only one thing that every man can do, no matter how expert or novice he is on that trail. The expert may know exactly how many steps it's going to take to get there, how long it's going to take. The novice may want to turn around and go back to the car, which is why we drop them off and have people drive the cars away. But at the end of the day, neither one of them can progress toward the destination by any means other than this, and that is take the next step. So into this control thing, you can't. You don't know how. You can only have predictions or expectations in the smallest and nearest of circumstances. What can you do in that environment? You can take the next fucking step. You can determine what that is relatively easily. On the trail, it's real easy. Was your left foot last or your right foot? Do the next one. Keep going. In life, it's the same way, though. What can I do next? And if you can answer that question, it's the only question. Guys learn it on the trail. They have breakthrough out there, and they realize they can take that back to life. And they can figure out what the next step is in life. You know, if you take the next step over and over and over again, you can't help but make progress. The next step is related to a saying called "one day at a time." We've all heard that. That's real popular in like addiction circles and stuff like AA and NA and stuff like that. And basically the idea is you got a goal of never doing something that's hurting you ever again. But if you go, I for the next year am not going to do that, it's too big a task. So the goal is to wake up in the morning and say, today I'm not going to do that, just for today. And then you might fight a couple battles over the course of that day, but you win those battles because you said, all I got to do is get to tonight. You get to that night and you go to bed. You wake up the next day, you do the same thing over and over and over. And before you know it, you've done it 365 times and there's a year.
Unless, of course, the thing was masturbation, which everybody knows is scientifically impossible.
Rinse and repeat. You know, that's the one day at a time thing, which is a little related to my book that you heard about in the 5,000 Days episode, because that's the name of the book, where you're appreciating life one day at a time. Literally macro, micro. 5,000 micro is macro and days is micro. And you're literally taking your daily experiences and cherishing them and valuing them, and then expounding upon that basic principle to make your life richer and fuller and more memorable, so that you don't get to the end going, where did it all go? That's the whole point. And you can do it at any age, at any time, but it's a day-by-day approach for appreciation. Over on the other side is the day-by-day approach, the step-by-step approach to problem solving. And it all goes in parallel. Everything works the same way. The next step is the most important one, and beyond that, there's not much to think about. At this point, I want to introduce you guys to the newest evolution in the Matthew East empire. That's not a thing, but I've got a website, MatthewEastLaughs.com. It's the platform from which everything else you find it all. The old stand-up comedy bits and stuff are there. Links to the podcast, which may be how you found this. If you found this without going to the website, go check it out. The highlight of the thing is when I was featured. Everything was going real well when I was away from flying last time. Notoriety on the comedy scene and the podcasts were just getting going. I was promoting them, but I got asked to be on Funny Friday with Margaret Burnquist, which is an Access Carolina news special thing, and I had a 5-minute feature on there. There's a link to that on MatthewEastLaughs.com as well. And it's pretty cool. And of course, what happened when all that was starting to go in the up direction, I got called back to flying, and my brain got saturated with things like how to fly a Cat 3 ILS into 00 weather in Boston, as opposed to what's funny and what's ponderous and what we should all be thinking about with respect to how we live our lives on and off topic. Tragedy, but cool at the same time. And now we're back to this as space is available and brain cells are available, and I'm super excited about it. But Matthew East Laughs exists. That was a little digression. The new one's called Matthew East Lives. I don't know why I'd do them that way, by the way. Laughs, Matthew East Laughs, Matthew. It should be like Matthew East makes you laugh, not like me laughing. And you'd be like, yeah, who gives a shit? Whatever, weirdo, crazy man. But I don't know. Matthew East Laughs became Matthew East Lives. There's going to be 2 websites. Don't go to Matthew East Lives yet. I just bought the domain. It doesn't exist. I have to build it. It's going to be in the next few months. We're going to get something up, and then it's going to evolve. I think the book 5,000 Days is going to get promoted over there because it's way more pertinent to what's going on over there. And then we're also going to offer something that I think is I'm trying to be humble about this, but I really have a lot to offer, and I am going to offer a life coaching service. Not to keep you in for the rest of your life, but to get you through whatever it is you're going through. Therapy of any kind, which this is not. Coaching is not therapy. If you're a therapist whose goal is different than to get your patients out of your care, fuck off. Because that's the point. If you're keeping them there, making them think they need you, you're not doing them any good. Now, if they do need you for a certain length of time, great. Get them out of your office. That's what Matthew East Lives is going to be focused on the life coaching side, is helping people navigate the overwhelming from a chaos theory perspective. Not just chaos theory, butterfly flaps its wings, but life is chaos. How do we duck under the right waves and ride the right waves and take the next step and do all that practicality stuff, which is so simple, but sometimes hard to apply until you've done it a couple times. And then you learn the process, and then you find yourself miraculously capable and competent for the next one that might come up.
I think he just offered to help you fire your secretly narcissistic therapist. Fuck yeah.
Good stuff coming. Matthew East Lives. Stay tuned. It's all coming into the future. I'm going to end this episode, Earthlings, with a couple of life sayings that we've all heard before. The last one you're maybe not going to have heard, or maybe you will have. But the first two are roll with the punches and go with the flow. It's kind of the same concept of, like, roll with the punches, a little more violent. You're in there fighting the fight, and give a little so that you don't get hit quite so hard. Go with the flow is a little more chill. You're moving in one direction, life seems to be pushing you another way. Sometimes the right thing to do is to fight. Other times, though, maybe that flow is taking you in a certain direction for a reason. The last one, though, is the one I'm going to hit on as we promote Matthew East Lives, or at least we're not promoting it yet. We are forecasting it, foreshadowing it, predicting it. What's the right word? Previewing it, teasing it.
Hindsight, we all knew he was going to find that word.
Titillating it.
Jeez Louise.
Here he goes. My military saying that we used to use all the time. Have a plan from which to deviate. Sounds a little oxymoronic or a little opposite, right? Because a plan, we all build a plan so that we can execute it and accomplish a goal. Problem is, most of the time, shit goes wrong. That's the chaos part of life. But you can't proceed forward without a plan. So you have to have it. And the plan should take you to your destination. But you have to be willing at the same time to acknowledge, guess what? That shit's going to go wrong, and that you're going to have to deviate, and that eventually, hopefully, the execution of the new plan will bring you back around, and you deviate again, and you make a new plan. You get to the same place you wanted to get to, just not the path that you thought you'd be taking. That's life, Earthlings. That's what Matthew East Lives is coming on.
Wait, what?
And that is how to take chaos theory and apply it to life and acknowledge that chaos isn't that bad. Deviation isn't that bad. Planning is important, but it's all for the same purpose. Do the best you can to take the next step. Live life that way. Find yourself in great places, one step at a time. I'm Matthew East. Embrace the chaos. Learn to live it, live with it, love it, and we'll see you next time. All right, Earthlings, thanks for being here. Thanks for sticking with me. And if you made it this far, why not take it a step further and give me a quick subscribe? I'm going to show you energy, diversity. We're going to make you smile and laugh and think in this rebirth of Off Topic. We're finding our groove here in 2026, and we're going to get you 3 episodes a month on the 7th. So look for us on the 7th, 17th, and 27th. Also, check out the email address and phone number on your screen if you'd like to participate. Take a screenshot, write it down, replay it, whatever you got to do. But reach out. I'd love to hear from you. This is Matthew East signing off, and we'll see you next time.